And we are back again. Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another live stream. Welcome back to another episode. Bitcoin has dropped below $65,000. But not only that, we have hit $65,000 exactly as predicted. Bitcoin, the cryptocurrency market. Oh my God. Right? The collapse of this market is unreal. The collapse of this market is just ridiculous. But none of you, all right, none of you should be surprised by the current price action. If you watch my streams, if you watch my market updates, if you watch my market analysis over the last couple of weeks, I told you guys this was coming. I told you guys this was coming. We predicted. We said there was going to be a meltdown. I told you guys it was going to get worse. And here we are, guys. I told you when the price of Bitcoin rallied back to $97,000. I told you this is not a market that you want to be bullish on. So as I promised you guys, I am going to give you a live stream. So here we are. I'm giving you another live stream. If this is your first time on this channel, please just do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Even if it's not your first time, if you have not subscribed, subscribe to the channel, guys. Share the content. If you're watching the live stream, smash the like button. If you have some stuff that you would like me to analyze, I am here for you. All right, I'm here for you. I'm gonna do this for about 45 minutes to an hour because I do have other commitments. So we are going to try to cover as much as we can, guys. Look, this is bad. I'm telling you right now, this is bad. Do not dollar cost add your chat. If you don't want to get hurt in this market, do not dollar cost average. Do not dollar cost average in this market, guys. $64,000 looks great. But I'm telling you right now, we are going much, much lower. We going much, much lower. And guys, look, I'm not clickbaiting you. And I'm not here to lie to you guys. I'm not here to get you nervous. I'm here to tell you I'm here to tell you the truth. Excuse me, guys. Let me get a quick drink. Yeah, look, I'm not here to get you nervous. I'm not here to try to trick you out of your position. I'm not here now to excuse me. Oh my gosh. Yo, this market is so bad I can't even talk. Feels like I'm choking on my own saliva. Just give me a second, guys. Let me get a quick sip of drink. Quick sip of water. Oh my gosh. Anyways. Yeah, look. Yo, welcome back to the channel, man. Once again, this is BRS Trades. If you guys are new here, just hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and yeah, we're gonna talk about this market. But I'm just gonna tell you right now. Look, this looks like a capitulation, but it's not the bottom of the bear market. Trust me, guys. We going lower. We are going way, way lower. Yo, the bottom is going to be clear. Right? The bottom is going to be clear to you. It's going to take time. Right? It's going to take months for the bottom to form. The bottom doesn't look like this, guys. This is an acceleration to the downside. And I told you guys this recently. All right. Recently, when the price of Bitcoin was breaking down below $85,000, I believe, I told you, hey, we're about to accelerate to the downside. And this is why I kept telling you guys, yo, it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. And when the price of Bitcoin was in the high end $70,000 range, people were looking at 74,000 and they were predicting $74,000 was going to hold. I told you guys, $74,000 is not going to hold. Do you know how I knew 74,000 was never going to hold? Well, it's simple, guys. We just had a day cap bounce right here. All right, tell me, how do we have a day cap bounce and then we get a breakdown and then 74,000 is literally, all right, like literally right there. All right, during our first weekly drop, right after this day cap bounce was over, how do you come to a conclusion that $74,000 is actually going to hold? That never made any sense to me. And this is why, when I was looking at the price of Bitcoin and I was going back to the last bear market, I was looking at 28,000. When we lost this bear flag, When we lost this bear flag around $33,000, did $28,000 hold? And the answer is no. All right. We blast through $28,000 and we ended up around 17,000. So I'm telling you guys right now, I think this is exactly what's playing out. All right. I believe this is exactly what's playing out right here. And I don't think, all right, I don't think the lows of this drop is going to be in anytime soon. All right. I don't think the lows of this drop is going to be in anytime soon. And when you look at, weekly levels, all right, where do we have clear weekly levels? Well, Chad, you start looking at $60,000 to be exact. You lose $60,000, you start looking at $58,000. You start looking at $56,000. So, in my opinion, there's a very good chance, before we get some sort of a bottom, not a bear market bottom, but, a short-term bottom. I believe, we probably see the price of Bitcoin somewhere in the higher $50,000 range. Or somewhere just around $60,000. This is not the time to dollar cost average. Even if we get a bounce back to around, I don't know, what is this? $75,000. Even if we get a bounce, I don't think this is a time to bounce. This is a time to dollar cost average. And the reason I don't think this is the time to dollar cost average, it is simply because I believe this market is going much, much lower. All right. If you're in a rush to buy Bitcoin, it doesn't really make any sense to me, right? It doesn't really make any sense to me if you're in a rush to buy this market. Just chill out, man. Hold on to some cash. Guys, cash is a position. And let me share with you guys, this is one of the greatest quotes out there in the financial markets, right? Markets can stay irrational longer than you can stay solvent. Markets can stay irrational, guys, longer than you can stay solvent. Right? Do you want to stay solvent or do you want to blow up your account? Right? It's totally up to you, man. Do you want to stay solvent or do you want to blow up your account? Right? Guys, it's right here, man. The meaning of the phrase is literally right here. The market irrationality can outlast investors' financial endurance. Right? How big is your money? How much do you have that if you start to dollar cost average, let's just say from $63,000, and let's say the bottom of the bear market comes in around $35,000, like how much do you have to continue to dollar cost average all the way down to $30,000? Stay away from this market, guys. You don't have to be a hero. This is not a time to dollar cost average. It may look great because we have retested the 200 weekly. Chat, what did I tell you about the 200 weekly moving average? I told you guys, we're going to blast through the 200 weekly moving average. It's not going to hold. It is not going to hold. You look at the past bear markets, at least the most recent ones, because, during the bear market, we saw close to the 200. We ended up just blasting through it. So you look at the last bear market, the 200 weekly was around $27,000. The bottom didn't come in until $15,000. And I'm telling you right now, the 200 weekly is not the bottom of this bear market. Absolutely not, guys. All right. More clear levels. Look, to me, a place where I might be able to say, hey, you can start dollar cost average. I'm going to say it's around $52,000. Around $52,000, I think you start building a position. But personally, I know exactly what I'm looking for, before I start doing anything with this market. I know exactly what I need to see. I need to see the market go sideways for a very long period of time. I need at least a month of sideways price action. And I need to see the structure. I need to see how the structure is developing. Before I do anything, before I nimble into this market, I need to see something. I need to see clear signs that we are actually in the process of bottoming. Guys, this is a process. A bear market is a process. Forget about the numbers. Forget about the price. All right, time. Time is extremely important. If this is like a traditional bear market, you're looking at sometimes in October, sometimes December 2026, before we can even entertain the conversation that the bottom of the bear market is absolutely in. You're looking at towards the end of 2026. And this is why I continue to say, hey, staying on the sideline, all right, staying in cash is also having a position because, you look at the last couple of weeks. You see, I told you guys with altcoins, I'm like, guys, look, this is about to worsen. This is about to get worse. All right, this is about to get worse. Now, I was thinking it was going to take place around March. I was really thinking, things were going to get ugly around March time. But holy smoke, man, February had a different plan. All right, February has something else. And then you look at the performance of Bitcoin. Yeah, this is terrible. But this is an opportunity right here. Not an opportunity to take advantage of right now, but just give it a couple of months. All right, Clean Spark. You got 5 minutes. No, not right now, though. You got 5 months to stack. Not right now. You got 5 months to stay on the sideline. Personally, I'll say stay on the sideline at least until the summertime. At least, the bare minimum, you got to have to wait until the summertime. Chat, let me tell you who you need to stay away from. You see, guys like Raoul Paul, you got to stay away from them. Guys like this, you got to stay away from them. He has been pushing this idea that the 4-year cycle was now a 5-year cycle. And that BTC and the cryptocurrency market were going to top in Q1, Q2 of 2026. I want you guys to take a look at this market right now. Does this look like a bullish market that is going to top in Q1 and Q2 of 2026? Or does this look like a market that topped in Q4 of 2025 and it is now, I'm not going to say officially in a bear market. We have been in a bear market, right? Price percentage-wise, I think the worst is already behind us, to be very honest with you guys. When you go from the top all the way down to right here, this is almost a 50% crash. I don't think BTC crashes another 50% from $63,000. Could we? I'm going to say yes. But I don't think we get another 50% crash from $63,000 because a 50% crash, going from 63,000, chat, I mean, you basically looking at Bitcoin going back in the $20,000 range. So I think percentage-wise, the worst is already behind us. But remember, time-wise, we are early in a bear market. This is what most of you guys need to remember. All right, the bear market. You have two things that you have to think about. First is the price. Second is time. Because price is one thing, and then you have time. Even if this is the bottom right here, we could potentially just go sideways for about 6 months. Spend 6 months building a base for the next bull market. So do you want to lock up your capital for 6 months, or do you want to free up your capital and maybe take advantage of other stuff that are doing well in the short term? I'll give you guys an example of something that looks really good. And I actually think this is more likely to do very well in 2026. I am talking about this stock right here, guys. ODFL. All right. I think this is something that's more likely to do very well in 2026. All right. I grabbed the position around $159. It is currently around $202. So I'm looking at this. Look, when you look at the monthly, this is exactly what you want crypto to look like. All right. This is something that clearly looks like its long-term pullback is over. You look at the low of $126. And then when you go to the daily, guys, all right, when you go to the daily, price has broke above its 200 daily moving average, which is exactly what you like to see. We are currently putting in higher highs and higher lows, which is exactly what an uptrend looks like. And when you go to the weekly, remember, we're looking at higher time frames. If we can break above $210, you're looking at something that could potentially break above, I think this is the all-time highs, I believe. You're looking at something that could potentially break above the all-time highs of $233 and potentially continue higher. So do you want to lock up your capital in Bitcoin that could potentially go sideways, even if this is the bottom of the bear market? BTC that could potentially go sideways for 6 months. Or would you like to have that capital free up and take advantage of something like this? Let's talk about other things that could potentially do well in 2026. All right. I'm looking at some of these oil stocks right here, guys. Look, I'm looking at EGY. EGY recently had a clear breakout. This is a bullish breakout right here. And I'm looking at this as a retest of the breakout, as a retest of the bullish breakout. Previous resistance of around $4.43 becomes a very clear support. So if we do put in a weekly, this is a weekly. If we do put in a weekly high and low, you're looking at something that could potentially push back to retest around $7.30 and potentially push all the way back around $8. So tell me something. Do you want to lock up your capital into BTC once again that could potentially go sideways in 2026, even if the bottom is in right now? Or would you like to take advantage of something like this? Look, this is a clear breakout right here. The only way this is invalidated if the price was to come back down and take out $3.38. As long as the price is above $3.38, like you have the beginning of a long-term uptrend. And this is a weekly structure that we are looking at. Let's take a look at some indicators such as the super trend. Look, the super trend recently gave you a buy signal on the weekly. All right, which is really good. When you go to the Bollinger Bands, we want to see price above this blue line. This is exactly what we have, guys. So pullbacks, as long as price stays above this blue line right here, should be opportunities to add on to your position. So there's opportunities in the market. It doesn't have to be crypto. So I just share with you guys, two markets that are looking really, really good. Long-term breakouts, pullbacks should be opportunities as long as we continue in these higher highs and higher lows trajectory. So once again, look, stay on the sideline. All right, but you don't have to stay on the sideline. Look, if you want to jump in the market and you want a dollar cost average, perfectly fine with me. But at least I'm providing value. At least I'm giving you something to think about. All right, you have to think about opportunity cost. It's not only just about jumping in the market, guys. It doesn't make any sense if you have a market and, traditionally the cryptocurrency market, at least BTC speaking, goes into a bear market for the entire 12 months. So basically 2026, you have to forget about, any sort of long-term bullish uptrend. There's going to be day cap bounces. Like there's going to be, small moments when Bitcoin is bullish, but that's in the short term. We're not talking about months with higher highs and higher lows. I've seen predictions. BTC is going to see new all-time highs in 2026. Chat, if you believe any of that BS, I don't know what to tell you. All right. I'm telling you right now, guys, less than 5%, we are going to see a new all-time high in 2026. Absolutely not. Now when the chart of Bitcoin looks like this is just, I don't think you guys realize how bad this is. Like this is really, really bad, man. And this is what I've tried to push over the last couple of weeks. Guys, the market looks, chat, I ain't even got to tell you guys. Just look at the thumbnails. Like, just look at every one of my videos. Most of them are bearish. Right? Just take a look at every one of my videos, man. And once again, guys, I'm not clickbaiting. Like, I'm very honest. I'm looking at this market, and I haven't seen a reason to be bullish long term. Like, absolutely not one. Like, there's not one reason I should be bullish on this market. If it's fundamentals, that's a completely different story. I'm bullish Bitcoin if we're talking 5, 10, 20 years from now. But if we're talking about 6, 12 months from now, I wouldn't do it. I absolutely wouldn't do it, guys. And we talked about so many different reasons using indicators. We talked about the MACD. When you look at the MACD on Chad, do you remember when I was telling you guys, let me get rid of this. All right. One of my recent live stream, I told you guys when we were using the Bitcoin weekly MACD, I told you guys this is going to be a fake out. You see the momentum indicator on the MACD on the weekly. It was looking like the bears were running out of steam. But what I say to you guys was that what you need to understand is that when you zoom out and you go to the monthly, all right, the bears are in full control of this market. So this is what's more important. Don't worry about what the weekly looks like. This is going to turn out as a fake out. And you guys, look, you don't understand how many times I'm on X, right? You don't understand how many times I reply to, People who were trying to push this narrative that the MACD was going to give us a long-term buy signal. But anyways, yeah, I think that was this right here. I think that was this video right here, man. If you guys haven't already, please check it out, guys. I was debunking, this idea that this weekly MACD was about to turn bullish. And what I say to you guys was this, and I think many of you guys actually remember this. What I say to you guys was this: you have a monthly, that is more important than your weekly. You have a weekly, this is more important than your daily. You have a daily, this is more important than your 4 hour. I'm using the 4 hour time frame. You have your 4 hour, this is more important than your 1 hour, and so on and so on, guys. So when your monthly is bearish, don't worry about what the weekly is doing. Focus on the monthly. When the weekly is bearish, don't worry about what the weekly is doing. Focus on the weekly. When the daily is bearish, don't worry about what the 4 hour is doing. Focus on this. And even if you do decide to do something, just make sure this is not long term, all right? You want to jump in, you want to get out. Here, you want to jump in, you want to get out because, your higher time frames are your GPS, man. And if you don't know this by now, I suggest you take some time to learn, different time frames and the importance of, each one of them. So anyways, yeah, when I did this, I focused on this idea that, regardless of what the weekly MACD momentum was showcasing, looking like we were, maybe it's not, is it this or was it the other one? Yeah, I think it was this. I got to make sure I was looking now. This one I was focusing on the monthly, looks like. Yeah, this one I was focusing on the monthly. So it's got to be, it's got to be one of these, updates right here. Somewhere around here, it's got to be one of them. I just don't remember which one. Let me see, MACD. Yeah, probably, I don't know, somewhere around here. It could be this one right here, but I don't want to play the video. Anyways, let's do a proper TA on Bitcoin, and then we'll take some of your questions in terms of, if you guys want me to just kind of analyze, some of these stuff right here. But once again, guys, appreciate you guys for tuning in. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let's get it. Let's talk about Bitcoin. Let's have a proper chat, guys. Let's talk about this market that, we love, even though, these are not the greatest days, greatest times to be analyzing this market. So anyways, Bitcoin is right now just right around $63,000, and it looks like we are going to have a continuation of this weekly downtrend. If you watch my recent breakdown on the weekly, what I say to you guys, when the price of Bitcoin was breaking down, all right, when we were breaking this bear flag right here, what I say to you guys was that I did not think we were going to bounce off the $74,000 major support that everyone was talking about. And the reason was simply because we literally just had a day cap bounce on the weekly. So why would we get a day cap bounce on the weekly and then a week after that get another day cap bounce? It didn't make any sense to me. And my assessment on the situation was that we were actually going to accelerate to the downside. And this is exactly what is playing out right now. Anybody that's freaking out, anybody that's trying to make this make sense is because they failed to do the homework. If they would have done their homework, if they would have taken a look at this market and have an honest conversation when BTC was consolidating, today's, like, what we have right here, guys, shouldn't be surprised to anyone. Like, I'm very serious when I say this. All right. People are acting all surprised. People are acting like, this is something out of the norm. Nobody saw this coming. No, we saw this coming because we did our research. All right. And what I say to you guys was that we were going to blast through $74,000 and you are going to catch the price of Bitcoin at $65,000. Yo, chat, didn't I recently make a video and I said the BTC, all right, I gave you guys this one indication using the 21 monthly moving average and the 50. It's right here, guys. This is from 5 days ago. I told you guys when the price of Bitcoin was exactly at $81,900, the Bitcoin is going exactly to $65,000. All right. And what I say to you was, hey, this is a signal that has always been 100% accurate. The moment we lose the 21 monthly moving average, we are going straight to retest the 50 monthly moving average. And that puts us at exactly $65,000. So the only people, all right, the only people who are surprised and shocked are those who fail to do their homework. If you don't do your homework, if you don't do your research, and you only look at the market from one lens, all right, you only look at the market from a bullish perspective, today's price action, when today happens, you act very surprised and you start asking questions and you start blaming, all right, what doesn't need to be blamed. Like you start blaming different stuff. You start coming up with every excuse that is out there. But we knew $65,000 was coming. Now, I'm not going to say $65,000 was coming today. It could have been next week. It could have been the week after. But we knew $65,000 was coming because we did our homework. All right. We have done our homework. So let's talk about where we are right now and what I think Bitcoin is more likely to do moving forward. First and foremost, we do have to acknowledge that in the short term, we are extremely oversold. We do have to acknowledge this, all right? I'm not going to be here and say, hey, the market is not oversold and we may not get a bounce. Absolutely not, guys. When you look at the daily RSI, and I am going to talk about RSIs, oversold RSI in the bear market and what that could potentially mean to the price, all right? When you look at the daily RSI, guys, like this is probably the lowest RSI probably in the history of this market. I really got to be honest with you guys because the RSI is currently around 15. Yo, chat, if you go all the way back in the history of Bitcoin, I don't think there's many days where the RSI on the daily is at 15. So if we go all the way down here, this is 15, all right? And we go all the way back to the left. Yo, probably, chat, you're looking at 2020. This is the COVID drop. All right, March of 2020, daily RSI at 15. When you look at the price of BTC, this is when, the price of Bitcoin, it's kind of hard to tell where the price was, of course, at the time. But we probably are looking at a $5,000 to a $3,000 Bitcoin. And that was basically, the low of the drop. And then the only other time we had an RSI down in the 15 on the daily, you got to go back to the 2018 bear market capitulation. Again, we're talking about a $3,000 Bitcoin. And then the only other time, well, maybe not the only other times. And then if you go back, 2015, another bear market capitulation. And then you also got to go all the way back to around 2009. All right, I don't know if we want to take 2009 serious. But anyways, so you can clearly see it's not too many times when the price of when the Bitcoin daily RSI was at 15. Like this is history right here, guys. So just based on this indicator alone, based on an extremely oversold RSI, I do believe, all right, I do believe in the short term, there's a very higher probability we actually get a bounce. All right, RSI at 15. The only other times you have RSI at 15, you got to go back to the COVID crash. You got to go back to the 2018 capitulation. You got to go back to the 2015 capitulation. Yo, these are brutal bear markets that I'm talking about. I'm not talking about 2022, guys. I'm talking about 2018. I don't know how many of you guys lived through that 2018 bear market. I mean, that was brutal. We talking about Bitcoin going from $20,000 down to $3,000. Yo, I remember, all right? I remember thinking the BTC was going down to around $1,000. So RSI 15, very good chance we get a bounce. All right, I'm not going to fight against that. If we go down to the lower time, let's see if we have some sort of bullish divergence. All right, I'm looking at 4 hour. No bullish divergence, an extremely oversold RSI. I'm looking at the 1 hour, no bullish divergency, an extremely oversold RSI. Looking at the 15 minutes, I mean, I don't know how much down you guys want me to go. But anyways, look, just looking at the 15, 1 hour, 4 hours, still no bullish, at least no bullish divergency on the RSI. The only thing that I see is an extremely, extremely oversold market. Maybe if we bring the MACD, we may see some bullish divergencies. So let me kind of get out of here and let me bring up our MACD as well. So if you look at the MACD, on the 4 hour, we don't have any bullish divergency. 1 hour, no bullish. Look, we don't have any bullish divergency when you look at the MACD and the RSI. So what I'm going to say because of that is I do not have any indication that it looks like we are going to get a bounce. My only reason why speculating that a bounce is more likely, all right, is just because RSI at 15, and the only other times you have RSI at 15, I mean, you got to go back to like literally historical events. So if we do get a bounce, I wouldn't be surprised. Now, TA-wise, this is a falling knife right here. And when you have a falling knife, guys, you don't try to catch it. When a train is moving, you don't try to stand in front of a train. So dollar cost averaging, it wouldn't make any sense to me. I wouldn't advise anyone to dollar cost average, even if we could potentially get a bounce right here. This is Bitcoin right here. We know what Bitcoin could potentially do. In the next 10 minutes of this live stream, BTC could easily go from 63,000 back to $70,000 because that's exactly what Bitcoin is. And Bitcoin is not a stranger to, pulling up some very, very shocking moves. So I'm looking at Bitcoin. Honestly, to me, it is what it is. My outlook on BTC is that based on this weekly time frame, this is a market that is going much, much lower. In the low 50s, that is a place where we could potentially get some real positive price action. Right here, oversold, something in the short term. There's a lot of people crying out there, hey, provide some relief. All right, here's some tissues. Go ahead and wipe those tears, all right? A couple $1,000 bounce, and then we go down again. So that is basically my assessment, when I look at this chart right here, all right? This is not a positive chart, guys. So let's zoom out and focus on the bigger picture. When you go to the monthly, very clear. You don't need to panic. This is your first major monthly support, somewhere around $49,000. You can make an argument to going from 60,000 down to 49,000. Looking at the entire range instead of looking at a specific price target, probably the best approach. And then after that, you're basically looking at $32,000. $32,000 is right here. Now, this is a major support on the monthly. And not only that, when you think about $28,000 from, all right, this consolidation and also from the last bear market, this is also an area of interest. Now, this is not a prediction. I'm not here predicting the BTC is going down to $28,000. I don't think Bitcoin is going to $28,000. I don't even think we're going back in the 30s. I think percentage-wise, the worst is already behind us. But, all right, these are targets that you should monitor, for the remainder of 2026. All right. At some point, we are going to see a local bottom. Bitcoin is going to go sideways. Bitcoin is going to give us a day cap bounce. Probably go back and retest the 21 weekly moving average, or probably, just go back to retest. Look, I can only assume if the price of Bitcoin is in the low $50,000 range, a day cap bounce could potentially bring us back to around, maybe like 70,000. So if you think about that, going from, let's just say 53,000 all the way up to around 70,000, this is a 30% move. So something like this wouldn't surprise me. And then we get the final drop. After that, come down here, and then we start working and building the base for the next bull market. Something like this, I could easily see it playing out. But as of right now, man, there's really nothing else to talk about in regards to Bitcoin. We will continue down until we are proven otherwise. We will continue to be bearish until we are proven otherwise. The worst thing that you should do right now, and the worst thing that you want to do right now, is start predicting that this is where the bottom is going to be. Guys, allow the market to literally guide you. All right. Allow the market to be your guide. Allow the market to actually put in a bottom, and they look back and say, hey, that is actually a bottom. Allow the price to start breaking above these moving averages. Let me be very clear with you. The 21 weekly moving average, it is going to retrace all the way down. By the time this bear market is over, the 21 weekly is potentially going to be somewhere in the low $60,000 range. If I'm looking at, the monthly MACD, this monthly MACD right here is going to retrace all the way back to the zero line. So if there's any indicators out there that you should continue to monitor, continue to keep your eyes on the monthly MACD, all right, until we get down to the zero line. Don't even think about accumulating until you see the momentum indicators, all right, until you see us go from red into pink, like this right here, guys, until you see the colors change right here. Continue to stay on the sideline. Don't try to be a hero, all right, until you see the RSI start curving on the monthly and start a bottom process where we probably just go sideways. And until you see a monthly breakout on the RSI, so I'll give you an example right here. This is a breakout right here. So you could have, jumped into BTC around here. All right, other side of this yellow line. So that would have been around 20,000 all the way down to 15. So until you see something like that, just stay on the sideline. If I put a trend line right here on this monthly RSI, like, chat, you're looking at sometimes 2027, or maybe I can go like this. All right, instead of starting from up there, maybe I go like this. This gives you around October 2026. You got to wait until this RSI does something that looks like this, where we curve to the upside, we break out, and then start building a position. All right, until you see these things, stay on the sideline. Why are you in a rush? This market is not going anywhere, guys. BTC is here for life. This market is going to be here longer than you and I. So why are you trying to rush into a position? All right, remember, cash is a position. All right, Chad, give me a second. I'll be right back. Like literally a second. All right. We are back. Let me see what we have right here. Yo, Tom Lee. Oh my God, man. Tom Lee is getting smoked out there. Tom Lee is down about $8 billion, which is, chat, if that's what it takes, if that's what it takes to run these big, hold on, what the hell is this? Chat, if this is what it takes, they might as well just hire me. If losing $8 billion is nothing, they might as well just, put me in charge of the fund. Just put me in charge of the fund if that's what it takes. If losing $8 billion or $10 billion is not going to get you in trouble, I might as well be in charge of the fund, right? Yeah, man, this market is not. All right, let's talk about altcoins because, most of you guys are heavy in altcoins. And, I don't have to tell you twice, man. Altcoins, oh my gosh. Stay away from altcoins. Remember Zcash? Recently, I gave you guys a trade that Zcash was going down into this, excuse me, into this $180, $220 range. Yo, chat, we right here. Exactly, man. I talked about Zcash recently. Let me make sure I'm actually recording this so I can post it later. Zcash. Right here, right? Zcash. Yeah, this is Zcash right here. My analysis on Zcash. Chat, look. Look at the price of Zcash at the time. It was around $405. Look at that. I mean, what a beauty, man. Look at that. I told you guys, you're going to get a day cap bounce on the weekly or on the daily. But it's inevitable. We drop all the way down into the range, all right? $180, $225. Yo, that was from 3 weeks ago. So if any of you guys would have shorted Zcash, when I did this analysis right here, I mean, you would have made banks because this would have been your entry somewhere around $400. Zcash is currently down basically 50%. If you would have shorted Zcash, you would have made so much money from this altcoin right here. Because all you had to do, actually, I did share trades with you guys. All you had to do was just jump into a position with a stop loss just right above this. All right, your target was this right here. Even lower because we definitely are going lower. If you want to stay in your position, you can absolutely do it because, that next target, I'm basically looking at $120. Like once we lose this support right here, once we lose 190, we're going straight down to 120 something. So that is Zcash. Congratulations if you took the trade. And then we also had the Ethereum trade where when the price was back here, this was another one. We predicted the $2,100 target. So 21 was right here. $2,100 was right here. And god damn it, guys. Look, we are just... Yo, we're not even stopping. That's the worst thing about the current drop. Look. Yeah, we talked about this Ethereum. I gave you guys this trade right here. All right. Notice how every single pullback to the 21 has been getting rejected. This is exactly what I was expecting from this market. And right now, my next target is this, $1,300-$1,500 target. This is what I'm looking at right now. So you can even hold on to your position for even bigger profits. Just make sure you bring your stop losses down. Right now, just readjust your stop loss just in case, if something was to go wrong, you're still locking some profits. We also talked about XRP. I told you guys, man, the only way you make money from XRP, either you short it or just stay away from XRP. When XRP had this bounce right here, I told you guys, this is nothing but a day cap bounce, and most likely it's over. And when XRP was right here, I say short it. Your target is, the first target, we basically kind of right there, this small range right here, around $1. This is exactly where we are. So if you would have shorted, you could have put your stop loss like that. This is your first target, but, bigger target, you're basically looking at a 70% crash. Yeah, look, the bears are, oh my gosh. Can you imagine how much money these guys are making? The other one, XLM, I told you XLM around, yeah, guys, look, I mean, I can't make this up, around 21 cents. So if you would have shorted XLM, you could have jumped into a position. That's a long. We're shorting. We're not longing. Could have jumped in right here, guys. Could have just simply put your stop loss up here. All right. And then, this is your target. So XLM, you just got to be a little bit more patient. You're going after a 55% crash. Jasmine, you Jasmine lovers out there, I keep telling you, stay away from Jasmine. If we do anything with Jasmine in this upcoming bull market, it's just not right now. We are going to have to be patient. We are going to have to wait for Jasmine to break some structures. In the last bull market, we became bullish on Jasmine right here. Once we had this move, came back, boom, and then we went back up. Here's when we came bullish. And if you would have jumped in right here, you would have done pretty well because Jasmine ended up doing a 12x. So you want to wait for the same opportunity, wait for some sort of a consolidation on the weekly, wait for a breakout above these EMAs, and then your entry should be somewhere up here, and then try to take advantage of whatever the bull market gives us. But it's just not right now. This is gonna take at least 6 to 18 months, if I'm being very honest with you guys. The altcoin market is cooked. I told you about Sui. Going back to this guy right here, man. Raul Paul, you have been pushing this project. Raul Paul has been pushing Sui for the longest. Yo, chat, if you have service, if you are in his, it's not a Discord, but it's some sort of a paid paid group or something. If you got Sui and you're still in that position, God, I hope he gave you a sell signal. God, I hope you exit your position because, oh my gosh, look at Sui, man. The state of Sui is just, it's ridiculous. And I've been telling you guys for the longest time, yo, Sui is done. Sui is done. You're looking at a 40 cents, you're looking at a 40 cents Sui. And who knows if we don't go lower? Who knows if we actually don't go to around, I don't even want to talk about some of these targets. 35 cents. You lose 35 cents. It is going so much lower. And some of you guys are probably thinking, we can't go any lower than that. Guys, let me show you this dead project right here. Polkadot. Remember Polkadot? Look at the price of Polkadot, guys. Polkadot is currently $1.27. Remember these coins right here? All right, Polkadot has lost literally its 2022 bear market lows of $3.65, and it is currently down to around $1.28. So it is currently down 50%, 65% from its 2022 bear market. This is a dead project right here. Do you know how bullish I was on this project going into the last bear market? I was talking about 150,000, not 50,000. I was talking about $150 target, $200 target. You know how crazy that This is what bull markets do to people, okay? But, I took my profits around $8, $9 because I just got sick and tired of holding. My position was somewhere around here. But you guys, I gave you a heads up. I told you I was exiting my Polkadot. So you can't say that I didn't give you a heads up. The problem I have with guys like Raul Paul is that they push these altcoins, but they don't come out when the market turns around long term, when the market goes bearish. They don't come out and say, hey, guys, remember those projects I used to talk about? Remember those projects that were bullish? They're no longer bullish. And I think over the next 6, 12 months, price will go down. All right, that's the problem I have with this guy. Because if you look at Raul Paul, let me see. Probably deleted me at this point. Probably not. He probably doesn't even see my stuff because, I am so small that my stuff doesn't go around. Hopefully something comes up. Raul Paul, man. Oh, he probably deleted a bunch of those things. Are you kidding me? Am I doing this right? Let me go back to Raul Paul. This brother right here was pushing Sui like it was nothing. Then you look at the state of Sui today, guys. Something is gonna come up. You gotta be kidding me. Did he get rid of all the Sui shields that he was posting? Come on, Raul, man. Yo, he deleted a bunch of this stuff. Yeah, he probably got, yeah, he deleted a bunch of those stuff. So this is the problem I have with guys like this. And this is a guy with over 1 million followers. I think probably two. Does he have 2 million followers? Did I just show 2 million? 1.3 million followers, man. And he was shielding Sui nonstop. You look at Sui right now, guys. I mean, oh my gosh, man. Like, where do you even go from here? Like, where do you go from here, you know? Can you imagine, you know, 1.3 million followers. He's posting Sui, and then Sui turns bearish. Like, it was clear around $3.80 that Sui was no longer bullish long term. All right. Can you imagine if you bought anywhere around the $3 range? You know, maybe five, because some people bought in at $5. Yo, this is a position that's currently down around 76% and is going lower. If we go down in the 40 cents range, like I'm predicting, this is an 80% crash, man. If it goes anywhere lower, chat, it's 90%. If you put $10,000 and you're down 90%, you know, do the math. If you put well, I don't want to say 50,000, but you know, if you put 20,000, if you put $15,000 and you're down 90%, you guys gotta be careful out there. So yeah, so this is the problem I have with guys like this. And then when his thesis doesn't play out, you know, he extends the bull market. It's no longer a 4-year bull market. It's a 5-year bull market now. Oh, Q1, Q2, the top comes in. Oh, we in Q1, Q2. Where's the top? The market is down 50, 60%. All coins are absolutely dead. So what is the new narrative right now? ISM. What is going on, man? Guys, we got to accept the reality. If you are in this market and you follow a bunch of these influencers, I guess you can call me an influencer, but I don't know if I'm influencing anything with, you know, less than 500 subscribers on YouTube and only about 600 followers on X. So I don't know how much of an influence that is. All right, I got 612 followers. Like, I don't know how much influencing this is, you know, achieving. But you want to make sure you follow someone who looks at the market from both directions. When the market is bearish, they call it a bearish market. When the market is bullish, they call it a bullish market. All right, I'm bullish today because the market is bullish. I'm bullish a few months from now because the market is, you know, the market is bullish. Did I say that right? I'm bearish today because the market is bearish. A few months from now, if the market turns bullish, I'm bullish on the market. All right, that is the type of person that you want to follow, guys. Whoever's pushing a project when it's only going up and they don't say anything when it reverses down to the downside, yeah, be careful. Be careful out there, guys. All coins are absolutely dead. All right? And I'm not saying all coins are dead for good, like they will never make a comeback. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that, yo, right now, 12 months from early 2024, these altcoins have been dead. I have been making this argument that altcoins actually topped in early 2024, and people don't want to admit it. But if you go back and you look at the performance of altcoins after early 2024, there's only a few of them that went on to make a new all-time high. The rest of them, we got a weekly lower high in 2020, late 2024, even early 2025, after the tariffs crash. I don't know if we want to call that a bear market, and then, maybe some Zcash, something else went up, but majority of altcoins, you go back and you see the top was early 2024, and they've been in a bear market for the last 2 years, I believe. And I don't see a sign of anything improving, TA wise. So why should your dollar cost average? Chad, give me one more second. I'll be right back. Literally a second. All right, all right, all right. Yo, Chad, let's kind of wrap this thing up because I mean, honestly, I don't know what else to. Historically, if you buy at the SMA, you good. Yeah, but what SMA do? Chat. Hopefully, this is not like the last bear market where someone gets liquidated. Michael Saylor, man, is Michael Saylor going to get liquidated? Is Tom Lee going to get liquidated? One of these guys could potentially be in some big trouble in 2026. One of these guys, we got to keep an eye on them. Michael Saylor, Tom Lee. Tom Lee is down billions, $1 billion. Yeah, one of these guys is in trouble. Trouble. So Tom Lee's ETF investment is currently down. Yeah, this is bad, man. Unrealized loss. Yeah, one of these guys will potentially get liquidated. I don't know who, but if Tom Lee is liquidated, Ethereum, oh my gosh, do we go down in the $500 range? Do we? Do we go down in the $500 range if Tom Lee is liquidated? What if I think Michael Saylor is fine though because they got an earnings call tonight, right? MSTR earnings day. I think it's today. I think this is today. Yeah, this is today, February 5th. Today's the 5th. Yeah, today's the 5th, guys. After market close. The market already closed, right? So shortly after. So, yeah, wait a couple more minutes. MSTR. Yes, sir. What's going on? And I've been predicting this, guys. Look, I told you guys when the price was around 366, unpopular opinion, but MicroStrategy has probably topped. Yo, I should have bought some puts, man. Looking back, I should have bought some puts. Guys, the only reason I haven't bought puts was because I was waiting for a big weekly rally because I didn't feel confident, jumping in. Even when the price was around, even right here when we broke down, like I just didn't feel confident. Because I was looking at this drop and I'm like, oh, we're going from like $360, straight down to 160. Surely we gotta get a weekly rally. So, the weekly day cap bounce that I was looking for, we just never got one. And that's the reason I really never, jumped into some puts. But can you imagine if I would have bought puts around 366? Oh my gosh, guys. I could have 100x, right? I could have 100x my returns. I mean, oh my gosh, man. Can you imagine if you bought some, especially today? Like there's a person in my Discord that 10x and they got in around like $140. Their puts went up 10x today because of this capitulation. So, oh my gosh, man. But anyways, I got some puts, guys. If you guys are wondering what I'm playing right now, I'm playing Iron. Yo, I think Iron is cooked. I think Iron is coming all the way back to around $25. That's my first target. But after that, I'm looking at this $15 target. So I jumped into some puts, around here. If we were to go back above like $63, I definitely will take my loss. But I think Iron, yeah, this is looking bad. This is something that should continue down over the next couple months. If you guys if you want to see something else too, I'm looking at Wolf right now. I think this one could potentially be in trouble too because if we go to the 1 hour, this is exactly what I like to see, man. Let me bring my 200. Yo, the miners are cooked, to be very honest with you. So if I'm looking at this, guys, this is exactly what I like to see. I like to see a top. I like to see that retested, and I like to see another retest. Right, this is a lower high. And right now, we have lost the 200 moving average in the 1 hour. So I'm looking at Wolf, and I think this one is also toast. So if I'm looking at this, especially, we even closed today below the 200 moving average on the 4 hour. Yeah, once we lose this trend line, but even right now, I think this is over. Once we lose this trend line right here, I think you're looking at a crash. the bare minimum I'm looking at right here. So even this, man, I'll probably jump into some puts. So like this is already a this is like a 50-60% crash. And of course, guys, yo, we could potentially come all the way back to around $2. So yeah, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Why would you dollar cost average into Bitcoin when you can simply just short a bunch of these stuff? All right, you can buy some puts. It doesn't have to be much. You can put a few $100s in this. I'm sure you do very well. All right. Anyways, yo, chat. Appreciate you guys, man. Hopefully you appreciate the live stream. I do have other commitments. I will see you guys next time.